Welcome back. Even as India is in the throes of an agrarian crisis, the farmers have announced that they've had enough. Let's just cut out the noise and the politics. Amid this entire cacophony, let's get you a voice that matters. P. Sainath, Magsaysay Award winner, and one person who has done intensive work on India's farmers' woes. Listen in to the exclusive conversation he had with our consulting editor, Rajdeep Sardesai.
Let's look at what has happened in the last 72 hours in particular, and even before that in Maharashtra. Do you see a pattern emerging in angry farmers taking to the streets, taking the law into their hands, some say being backed by the opposition parties? Is there now a political edge to the farm protests that are spreading in these parts of the country, particularly BJP-ruled states?
I do want your viewers to know one thing, Rajdeep. I'm talking to you from Kundal, which is one of the great historic centers of the freedom struggle in this country. Not 20 minutes from here, in the Tasgaon police station, activists and farm activists are being illegally detained. Maharashtra never had this phenomenon of preventive detentions, but right now a lot of people in different places are being picked up 5:30 a.m. in the morning, as far as I'm aware, from Sangli and Kundal, and are being illegally detained at police stations across the state. There is nothing filed. They've in fact gone to the court to get the illegal detention struck down. But this is a very serious development in this state, the onset of preventive detentions.
It is being said, though, you're focusing on Maharashtra, but both in Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh, many of those agitating Sainath are not real farmers but political activists. They are seeking to exploit the situation, resort to violence, so the police has no option but to arrest them or detain them.
Firstly, this is a complete canard put out by Mr. Fadnavis, saying he'll talk only to genuine farmers. By the way, the cabinet of Maharashtra, can you show me how many rural people are there? How many farmers are there in the cabinet? There was a man called Eknath Khadse, whom you and I knew personally, but where else? Who are the people with rural roots in this cabinet for them to decide who is a genuine farmer and who is not a genuine? Remember, Rajdeep, 10 years ago, the Maharashtra government of Vilasrao Deshmukh started dividing suicides into genuine suicides and non-genuine suicides. Do you remember that? Well, now he says he will only talk to genuine farmers. The farmers are going onto the streets and talking to him. He's not listening.
But why are farmers hitting the streets? Why is it that it's happening in Maharashtra and in Madhya Pradesh? They are destroying public property, even throwing food produce on the street, milk, grapes. Is there a political agenda here to destabilize the Fadnavis government in Maharashtra and the Shivraj Singh Chauhan government in Madhya Pradesh?
I think that farmers don't go out onto the streets to get Fadnavis into trouble. I think they are going out making demands that the BJP government had in its manifesto and promises which it came to power on, amongst other promises, like cost of production plus 50%, the first recommendation of the National Commission of Farmers, headed by Professor M.S. Swaminathan. These are promises. If anything, people are going out there demanding that the government implement its promises, that it keep its word to farmers, that it keep its word to society, those promises which were included in its manifesto.
When the government today then says, or when politicians say, particularly in the ruling party, that goons are taking over farmer agitation, what would you say? Is there a danger when ATMs are attacked or shops are attacked, that the buses are burned, that the agitation is losing focus from the core issue which it started off, which I presume was loan waiver and minimum support price for farm produce?
I think every long-term agitation has different phases. I think this phase may come to end in a few days. I don't know, I'm not an astrologer, but I believe that something will happen in a few days and there will be a lull. But you're going to see in different seasons, as the problems get sharper, I don't think the problems are going away. An agitation may go over, an agitation may take a new phase 3 months from now, but the discontent isn't going away, the problems are not going away, unless you are sincere about wanting to confront those problems, not by hurling abuses at adversaries, but addressing the problem.
Welcome back. You're watching The Burning Question, and our focus right now is on Darjeeling and the crisis that Mamata Banerjee is facing in the hills, because the Queen of the Hills is on the boil again because of massive protests by the Gorkha Janmukti Morcha yesterday. The GJM today has called for a 24-hour strike against Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee and her decision to make Bengali mandatory in the syllabus for all schools across the state. Now, the GJM cautioned tourists that they should leave Darjeeling early morning before their strike, also saying that no vehicles will be allowed to ply thereafter. 2 columns of the army have been deployed in the affected area. The Gorkha Janmukti Morcha has been demanding that Nepali should be allowed as a language, or that they should continue with Hindi, but they are strictly against Mamata's decision. Meanwhile, Mamata Banerjee was in Darjeeling yesterday. She was holding the first cabinet meeting in Darjeeling in 45 years. It was at that time that the violence started. The police clashed with the protesters. There was heavy stone pelting and arson in which several policemen, almost 30, were injured along with several civilians. And today, Mamata Banerjee, in view of the Bandh that has been called, is camping in the city to ensure that all the tourists who are stranded there are safely evacuated. My colleague Manogya Loiwal, who's been keeping a close eye on all the developments, she joins us live now. And the big question really that is also being asked, Manogya, is there a conspiracy? Was this a planned conspiracy to ensure that things go out of hand at the very time that Mamata Banerjee was holding her cabinet meeting there?
Padmaja, I'm sure that the government machinery is strong enough to know on what is brewing on the ground, and if it is not, then it itself is a failure rather than the conspiracy being successful. Putting it right, I would say that it's not just about the fact that they knew there will be protests. There were all announcements made that there will be black flags, placards, protests, and almost everything that was possible will be done by Gorkha Janmukti Morcha to make their voice heard to the Chief Minister. This was expected, but whether the government machinery was prepared or not is a big question. Now the government of West Bengal has said that they would offer and rather order an audit into the entire process of Gorkha territorial administration. Now that itself is expected to boomerang, because that is where the bone of contention lies on whether the funds being sent to the GTA were being utilized properly or not. And third most important point, that is the strike today. Because the strike, more than thousands of tourists are stuck there. They have, however, been told that they would be allowed to go downhill, but no one will be allowed to come uphill. And with that, we also being told that the airports have been asked to give extra effort to ensure all the passengers are accommodated at the airport itself. Extra hotel arrangements as well as bus facilities have been made from Darjeeling, from Siliguri to Kolkata. But precisely Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee taking that morning stroll in the mall, in the hills, and of course ensuring that all the tourists are evacuated safely.
In fact, just stay with me, Manogya, because like you mentioned, there is news about Mamata Banerjee also just coming in. Well, despite the violence, Mamata Banerjee has decided to in fact continue in Darjeeling till the time that all the tourists are safely evacuated. She's also assured them that logistical support will be given to them. Also, that action will be taken against the GJM workers who indulged in violence. Manogya, what was the main grounds because of which the protests were held yesterday, and why exactly did they suddenly turn violent, given that last week Mamata Banerjee has already assured that there will be no forceful imposition of Bengali on the Gorkhas?
Well, absolutely. It started with the language war, if I could put it, that only if the politicians could understood the meanings of the word that they wanted to express. This time it started up, the central government said that there would be Hindi compulsory in all the schools. West Bengal went a step ahead and said Bengali would be compulsory in all the schools. And that is what was the trigger for entire North Bengal, because most of the people speak either Hindi or Nepali and not Bengali. That was the reason where it started and flared up. Chief Minister, however, pacified, stating that they would continue to ensure that the demands are met and heard and of course considered also in the long run. That was the assurance made. But that did not go well with everyone. And now that there has been a backlash completely when Chief Minister herself is holding an entire cabinet meeting, as well as the entire cabinet is in North Bengal in the hills. This of course comes as a very strong message from the entire Gorkha Janmukti Morcha on the promises that have been made. Remember, interestingly, in 2011, this was the same party that had supported Mamata Banerjee to come back to power, rather to come to power with a stunning majority in 2011 and defeating the left front in the history of 34 years. But this time again, it seems to be an anti-incumbency factor working somewhere down the line that has to be addressed at the earliest.
Absolutely, and the big question that we are raising on India today is this a conspiracy to burn the Gorkha Hills? And if yes, by who? Already Mamata Banerjee has said that the GJM workers who indulged in stone pelting and arson will be acted against. Most importantly, why target the tourists who are flocking to the hills? They are practically being held hostage, thousands of them. Remember, this is peak tourist season in Darjeeling. All of them are scared. They don't know what to do. Why were bombs hurled at some of them? And finally, is Mamata Banerjee's government trying to impose Bengali on Gurkhas? Finally, I want to ask you, Manogya, is it now incumbent on the Mamata government to give it in writing that this imposition of Bengali will not take place? Because that's what Bimal Gurung said yesterday, that we want a proper announcement by the cabinet to that effect.
Well, that has to be done. If that is not done, the entire fire that has burnt Darjeeling almost partially till yesterday will not be contained. But what is more important at this point of time is to ensure that the tourists are evacuated safely. This, of course, is sending an extremely sad message to the tourists across the world, across the country who have been visiting Darjeeling. It has seen almost 10 years, or a decade full of Bandh, strikes, problems, and it directly affects the people of Gorkha also. The Gorkhas living there, because that is their main source of income. It is not just the GTA or a few government jobs. Today being a strike day, and of course the kind of harrowing experience the tourists will go with back to their homes, this will spread a bad mouth of word, and of course would be the negative publicity that is absolutely not required for Darjeeling. It's a beautiful place, Queen of Hills, and of course seems to be dethroned from its tag, if I may say.
All right, Manogya Loiwal, keeping a close eye. Thank you very much for joining us with the updates. We'll come back to you through the day for more. Meanwhile, the government has arranged for special buses for tourists who want to leave Darjeeling. The state will run buses at frequent intervals from 6 when the 12-hour bandh begins. The Bagdogra airport has also been alerted to give special services for those who want to be evacuated in this emergency.